All right, so my name is Evan Strong. I am the founder of In the Image Clothing Company, a clothing company that is so much more than just a clothing company. We are called In the Image Clothing Company because we are all universally designed in the image of our living God, who is Jesus Christ. And we talk about the skeletal system, right? The body's not about the fat content or muscle mass. Those things come and go, but it's about the skeletal system. It's about the foundation and a natural position that we just work out of from there, okay? So, yeah, we make really bold claims, right? How we shouldn't have to stretch, and I say this out of experience because I don't. I did in the past, trying to always just feel normal, never quite feeling normal in those times. But now, through what I do with clothing, and now founding In the Image Clothing Company, we shouldn't have to stretch. I mean, you don't see animals stretching other than like right after they wake up, just like to kind of like stretch out and then go out through their life. Like, we shouldn't have to stretch, really. I mean, we shouldn't have to work out or exercise to get up to a certain capability level, like, really. We do recognize our, individuality. If you've got things that set you apart a little bit, then your body might be a little bit different. That's okay, right? And we address those things if and when. Surgeries, deformities, amputations, whatever it is. And those things, times and places, we recognize differences. But we are universally designed, okay? So, I've had a few prerequisites since before I even founded In the Image Clothing Company, just to allow the body to really have a chance to operate natural, because that's our whole goal, is to get our bodies back to the way they were designed by our God before we then altered them through worldly things and especially clothing. Because clothing is the only thing placed physically directly on our bodies at all times, so it's the only thing that has the potential to and does alter our bodies at all times if and when imbalanced or unnatural, right? Materials, which I'm going to mention right now before I don't, and really just before I get farther into this video, this is plastic, right? I'm pretty sure it's acrylic, polyester, and 12% cotton, right? So it's a blend of three materials. I did another video with this on, I titled it Side Seam Modification, okay, and I showed what I did within there. But yeah, I mean, ideally we're in 100% natural materials because the body's natural, and so it just doesn't really mesh with man-made things. Just chuck it on the ground. Now, I'll pick it back up in a second, but the prerequisites that we do have here at In the Image Clothing Company, again, that I was doing before I founded the company, just to allow the body to have a chance, seriously, to operate naturally. That's how we don't have to stretch, is just by allowing our body to do what it would do. Because if it's not altered, it should just do its thing pretty well. Or, yeah, it should. So, lacing your shoes with the technique that is In the Image Clothing Company's technique. For shoelacing, you can find that wherever you find us online nowadays, right? Including just tying the shoes evenly over toward the inside, and then pairing that lacing with removing the tags, stemming in the shoes. They're normally in the tongues, right? And then up through the entirety of all the clothing you wear. I've personally made videos on just about every single tag, right? Just the commonly placed tags at least, but pretty much every tag in the locations they're placed in 2024 and what they do to the body, because they really do a lot to the natural human body's natural workings. They really do. And I've gone into it a lot. The reason I say it like that is a lot of people probably might think that some of the things that we talk about here at In the Image Clothing Company are like too small or too simple or too nitpicky. And that's why I'm saying that, because normally I don't like stop and say that much like that, like specifically within these videos. But what I'm going to show here is probably for a lot of people, like, why would you really think that's going to make a difference? But well, I'm being entirely transparent and honest when I say I do not stretch, and you see my mobility, like, it's not my body different than others, it's what I do within clothing. So this kind of stuff, it's not, because some people do have like natural mobility or like double jointedness or whatever. No, that's not me. The clothing, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't normally explain it like this within these videos, but I feel like, I guess for this video, it's important to say this. Like, I mean, I've got over 100 videos, right around like 107 videos or something, between 110 videos, averaging about a half hour in length, to where I explain very thoroughly the anatomy of the human body, the natural workings of the human body, its relationship with clothing, where the clothing needs to sit universally on what I call a universal human design, right? Again, skeletal system, just to really allow it to work. So these little tiny modifications, like my video titled The Dreaded Collar Seam, right? Like this has, and the modification that I show within there that I've done to this one, it's literally a millimeter long cut. Like, I don't think it's any longer than 1 millimeter, maybe 2, maybe. I really think it's like 1 millimeter. The point is, people probably have the potential, a lot of people, to like not even believe that that would actually do something. And I know that it seems small, but it's always little things. And as this company grows, right, as we get testimonials from people doing these things within their own lives, yeah, I mean, this stuff is true. That's what I always say. We speak on universal truths here at In The Image Clothing Company, no matter how silly they seem or far-fetched they seem, or if it seems like an opinion or what. I mean, no, we speak on truth. So you can choose to believe it or not, but it's what it is, and it'll change your life. That's why I started this company. It's not about just selling clothing. We will have clothing available to purchase, and it'll be awesome, right? For the intent of allowing the body to work and being 100% natural materials. I mean, that's things that'll go into our designs, right? And I'm gonna mention this one kind of on this, is within our designs, because this is what we all need, again, skeletal system wise, for the body to be in its natural position to just operate. The pants need to sit entirely above the hips and slightly higher in the front than in the rear. And the shoulders, the seams on top, and I've gone into this so many times, made so many videos about it, you can go find a specific video that's actually just geared around this only. Is I titled it Shoulder Seams Must Be Behind Shoulders. You can go find that within In The Image Clothing Company videos, where you can find us online nowadays, 2024. Today's the 9th of October, 2024. But this top seams have to sit behind the shoulders, and then the ones at the edges should ideally be right at the very edges, right? And that's just, those positions and angles, that's just what allows us to not have to stretch. Because the body, I mean, that's why I kind of like relate it to animals. Like, you don't see an animal out there holding stretches for like 30 seconds and then like a different position and like, no. I mean, we're just designed to do functions. But if like there's clothing altering how our body's going to like naturally do its function, then it's altering it, right? And that's really all that's happening, right? And also, we live in a modern, flat, man-made world when our hands are radiused, right? And that's a big one. I did a video on how the body loves radiuses and how to, like, the importance to incorporate rounding in things that you do in life, because the hand isn't flat. And a lot of people's nowadays are, until like loosened up, right? And it takes your shoulders with it. And yeah, I'm not even sure now exactly what all we're going to get into with this video. I've got a couple shirts here and that coat, hoodie, jacket that I threw on the ground. But all of this explanation isn't something that I normally include within one video, because I've said all of this within other videos, and they kind of are like their own videos. So I don't know, this video might be more than I was expecting it to be, but yeah, okay. So yeah, the point is, I mean, because within like the free modifications that I show, being the founder of In The Image Clothing Company, all you ever need is a pair of scissors, at least up until today, the modifications I've shown. And that's probably how it's going to be, you know, when I'm giving modifications like this for the public. And some of these cuts are, like I said, like just as small as you could even cut, basically. But they really will change your life. So yeah, I guess we'll get into it. Like I said, I made a video with this. I don't even like touching this. I'm not even kidding. Things like that too, people think might be far-fetched or whatever, but no, it's plastic, you know. And I wore this kind of stuff most all my life without even like thinking about it or realizing what was going on. But it does stuff to like my sinuses. Because again, I mean, it's not an opinion, and I talked about this within the first podcast episode. We have In The Image Clothing Company podcast, which is just discussions on the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I love that. You can go check that out. We'll have that in places where it's just audio versions as well, not just video. So far, we've just filmed them But we will have ways, because we actually do already have ways of seeing that through audio, right? Where you can find your podcasts. But I mentioned, because I was wearing, that was the second episode of the podcast actually. I was wearing pants that had 3% spandex. I don't know how they actually calculate that. You probably can't actually calculate 3% spandex, but point is, these materials are made in a factory, right? They take oil and they make plastic like acrylic and polyester, and spandex is stretchy, but also, I mean, this stuff is very fake, right? There's no opinion in that. There's no the body's natural, and these materials are something it doesn't like. It does stuff to my sinuses, and it's I can't quite even continue to breathe normal or speak normal when I have these materials on me. Yeah. So, yeah. But anyway, I bought this jacket, coat thing for the intent to use it, because it fits me really well. But it doesn't really matter how well it fits, because also I was talking about in that video with the side seam modification, that plastic isn't even a good insulator of heat anyway. And so it's a material that the body doesn't like to touch. It stays with me after I've touched it. But then at the same time, it doesn't even insulate you the way that something like cotton would. So it's kind of strange that really it's just, okay, well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm getting into. It's mass-produced stuff, right? I mean, because I've talked about a lot how tags within clothing, even just decades back and then ever before then, didn't even exist. And not only these materials, these man-made plastics and stuff, not only were they not used within clothing just decades back and then never before then, but they didn't even exist. These materials are new. I mean, plastic was invented in the 1900s, right? Just a little over 100 years ago, plastic didn't even exist before then. And now, we just put it on our bodies as clothing. It's just gone through a factory. I mean, they just drill oil out of the ground, heat it up, melt it down, mix it with things, and we call it clothing. Plastic is not clothing. It is not. It's not, and that's not an opinion, right? I mean, when I say we speak on universal truths, it's that's what I mean. We've had centuries and centuries of human beings on this planet, and yeah, I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands of years, people have been wearing clothing, and then now, just within the past 100-ish years, they invented a man-made material. Plastic isn't clothing. I mean, that's not some opinion. It's just, it's something we just created, very recent, and it's not anywhere near natural, and the body will always be natural. So, shoot, yeah. The point is, too, though, especially within the United States of America, but then, it just kind of travels across the globe, right? We got into this industrialization era, right, within the 1900s, where factories started to be built, and then within factories, now everything's just being mass produced and just pumped out. And so all this quality good stuff, because that was the focus. If you were going to sell something and you only had a few of the things, because you had to make each of them, you'd make them quality and then you'd sell them. But now, since machinery is doing the work rather than humans, a lot of the quality of work has just gone down, right? And it's more about just quantity and just pumping it out, sales and sales and sales and sales. And so we get stuff like this, and then it's weird, because it's some people might think that you sound unappreciative for having clothing, because they'll say something some people don't even have clothing in the world, they don't have access to it. True. Oh, definitely true. But they don't want this. Those people who don't have access to clothing don't want plastic on their bodies, because those people are usually people living in more what we would think of as a third world country, right? But really what it is more of a natural place, a place that hasn't been taken over by man-made things. So you give them, being so in touch, plastic to wear, and they're no, because they just know better, really, than most of us here in America. I'm serious, right? So the point is, plastic is not clothing. maybe that's the point. Maybe that's this video. I mean, I wasn't planning on really that being this video, but yeah, plastic is not clothing. Yuck. I mean, you can really, like, you could see it happening to me when I touched it. Like, I mean, it's plastic. It's come from just chemically heated and processed factory work, like within metal machinery, and the body, I mean, is natural. It's like these trees over here. It's natural. It's just, I mean, we just eat things and we become those things. Like, it's just natural. So, plastic, man. So, yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, because, well, that's the other thing, like, you know, going into winter now, I said the date, I'll say it again at the end, but we're going into winter. If the intent on putting something like this on is to keep you insulated, I mean, think about like a plastic water bottle, like those disposable water bottles. That's essentially the same thing. I mean, it really is. It's just plastic. That's what these materials are. But they're just like in little tiny strands that they then like weave together. I mean, it's like the same thing. And so, like, encapsulating yourself in like a plastic, like tarp, for example, versus like a wool blanket or a cotton throw, or like, you know what I mean? Like, just thinking about that, like, you know, those tarps that are just like plasticky, like nylon material, it's not gonna keep you warm. Even if you stack like 10 of them so it's like thick, there's like, it's plastic, right? That's the same thing. I mean, it might be a different name as far as like, maybe it's vinyl instead of like acrylic or whatever, but like, I mean, it's still the same. I mean, it's still just melted down in the factory and made by men, you know, it's just fake. It can't insulate you very well. And so that's the thing is, as we're going into winter, I always say try as best as we can, meaning all of us. You know, none of us could ever be perfect at it, probably, right? I mean, we can't be perfect at anything, but what I mean is none of us could ever like ensure necessarily, I don't think, that you could like always be within 100% natural materials. I mean, nowadays, I just don't know if you could really ever actually like go your entire life ensuring that happened. But that's the intent. I mean, that's the goal, because that's, again, it's not an opinion. I mean, we need to stay within natural materials, because when I say clothing is altering our bodies, it can be just the material. I mean, you can have something made out of this that fits you just absolutely ideal, right? But the material that's placed against your skin, I've talked about this before, but you take a topical cream and rub it on the exterior of your body to heal what's in your body, because it soaks through your skin, right? Through the pores in your skin. This is doing the same thing. And so whatever this is going into your body while it's on you. And then especially like in a coat or a jacket or a hoodie that's plastic or some kind of man-made material, if you wear it in the winter, a lot of times we actually sweat more in the winter because we're so insulated within something. And now you're getting hot and sweating and your pores are opening, and this is mixing with that sweat and going into your body. So plastic is not clothing. It is not. And it's sad. Genuine. I mean, like, that's like, you can tell, that's sad. Because so much of the world is using plastic